So we're recording Monday. It's the 13th of July. Doing my Zoom in Touch Wisdom Talks, and really happy to have Victoria Pomeroy. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Pomeroy.
Pomeroy. From Christchurch, from Flow Hot Yoga. Had the privilege of coming down and teaching a couple of classes last November when I was doing my Bone Yoga South Island tour, and I have to say it was one of my highlights connecting with you in your studio. So Victoria, hi.
Hi, thanks Paul, thank you for that.
Welcome. And it's lovely to catch up with you again, and one of the reasons why you were on my list of people to talk to is having a yoga studio, and a busy yoga studio, very active. And having lots of plans of building purpose-built studio and having workshop facilities for people doing other kinds of teachings. And then we had COVID. What happened to you at the beginning of that with shutdown?
Oh, well, for me, it was incredibly busy because it was creating a platform that we could carry on for our community. So that was obviously Zooming, and that's not my gig. That whole technological side of things, I'm a great believer in getting people to do, those that are brilliant in their field, to do just that. Yes. So luckily I had people within our community, in our yoga community, that were right there. But of course, there's an orchestrator too. I seem to fall into that role. I'm quite good at orchestrating. Yes. So it was really, really busy. We got a few classes filmed, and some wonderful teachers, including Donna Fahy, came into, we call it the cottage. It's Flow Therapeutics, the beginning of. In fact, we're just starting our build right now, actually. Yeah. So that was pre-COVID, and we got busy for a couple of days. And John Selwood, husband of one of our wonderful teachers, did the filming for us, so the quality is fabulous, used to 2 cameras, so on. So detail, definitely into detail. Yes. As far as presentation and so on. So and then of course through the whole time we offered it free. There was no charge. In fact, we're just setting up now to charge a video library, of which we are adding more classes to now, because one of the upsides, and I think there were many through COVID, was moving forward with having a video library, having the platform to be able to have those sorts of offerings and the quality. So when people are away, or school holidays, Christmas, we can either Zoom, and of course there's the library there all of the time. So that was a busy time, a busy. In fact, sometimes I'd be on my phone from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. So it was a busy time for me, as it was for a lot of people in some ways or another. Yeah. Very busy. Yeah, kind of reinventing ourselves and keeping ourselves out there in the world. So how were your classes? Were they well attended? Did people kind of struggle to come online? What was your experience? It was a lot of fun. There was all sorts of, everybody was learning. And I think also the fact that we weren't charging, people are patient. Yeah. But in addition to the patients, and we've got a beautiful community. Flow Hot Yoga has definitely got a fantastic community and a lot of wonderful supporters. Yeah. So there were mistakes along the way, absolutely. Things fell off, took later to come in, couldn't get in, probably everything that could have happened. But they were really well attended. And yes, we had challenges along the way, but I think most people did if they weren't familiar with operating that way. Yes.
Yeah. There's also the challenges for you running a studio and having the finances must have been quite tricky, and also your teachers as well, if they're offering their classes free online. How did you guys cope with all of that?
We had support from the government for those, those teachers that, but most of our teachers are contractors, and many of those teachers also had support. Others didn't. Some teachers didn't have any support at all. They had other businesses that were moving along well for them and very generously offered their time also. And again, everybody, my mantra really was, and still is, let's cut the cloth to fit, and also the focus is making ends meet. We are going ahead with the studio. That's quite separate from this business right now, because we of course are catching up, and catch-up game, and it's a matter of having the confidence and the obviously the support, but also transparency. Having a meeting actually with our landlord here today, because straight away I rang him up and said, oh, this is the same phone call I made almost 10 years ago after the earthquake. We'd only been open 2 weeks, and I rang him and I said, look, can you help us? We've got rent to pay. And we didn't have to pay rent for a few weeks. We supported it. Then actually Australia got in behind us, the yoga community over there, and fundraised, and we were able to give free yoga for a long time after the earthquake. And similar sort of thing happened with this. It was like, oh, you know what? I know what to do. We've done this. A little bit like, I think many Cantabrians, COVID here in Christchurch didn't feel as challenging as what we went through in the earthquake. So it was having those conversations, and my landlord said, yeah, I remember that phone call, and he kicked in. As we did the same with our tenants, over where we are at Pomeroy's.
Yes, yeah. You froze in.
Because they could, which was really supportive. I think it's just people kicking in and helping one another,
Well, I think the Cantabrians are good at that. You've had some good experience, and the earthquakes that you've had, and particularly the serious one, or they were serious too, weren't they, really? Brought you guys all together, and it has a lovely community feel, that's for sure. That's my experience when I was down there as well.
And I think we grew on that here. Flow had been open literally 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was in the room practicing Gret's class when it was like being on a trampoline. And, this building actually moved really nicely. And I remember coming out into the reception area, and the fridge was in the middle of the room, and various things were smashed. Whereas in the room, apart from it, we didn't even have much sound because it's in the centre of the building. So it's not the sound. Yes. It was what was also really scary about the earthquake. But, Cantabrians learnt a lot through that time. And it's still that time for many of us.
Yes.
Where we're building the new Wellbeing Centre is from land that, a whole lot of buildings fell down around us next to Pomeroy's.
Yes.
So I think we got good at it, and we kicked into that again, and that was definitely the experience of our community here in Christchurch, and continues to be.
So you guys have all pulled together as well during this COVID, and we're really very fortunate at the moment, because we have our freedoms back again. There's no real restrictions on us. People are certainly being careful if they've got colds and things like that.
Yes.
Quite different from the rest of the world. I mean, I was talking to my wife about that. When you talk about worlds within worlds, it's just incredible how our experiences of this moment in time is so vastly different. And your classes, have they all picked up again now?
Totally, absolutely. In fact, we're not up to where we were. We were 52 classes a week, but I came in last night for the last class of the day, the in class, which was the 4:30 class, and we most certainly, in fact, this weekend will put a 6 o'clock on again. So we're not up to a full schedule. We've just slowly moved into that, but demand really has it. Although on saying that too, we are putting less numbers in the room because, and I think, again, for many people, and I know for myself, it's like, you know what, becoming unwell through wintertime was something that is the norm. I'm really keen on getting through this year, completely through this winter, absolutely, without catching any sort of influenza.
Yes.
And being really mindful that, no, you know, there was a time that I would be teaching with a husky voice, but I wouldn't be seen dead in a room, you know, with a cough or a sneeze right now. So I think in an environment like in a yoga studio, we've got wonderful heating system which exchanges the air and monitors the CO2. So it's really clean. You'd remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space. But people don't want to be too close anymore. That's my feeling on it.
Because when I was there, we were sort of jam-packed in with people. I don't 45 people, I can't quite remember. So what was your capacity and what have you gone down to now?
The capacity, well, for yin, I don't like any more than 28 in the room. Number one, after lockdown, using any of our supports bolsters obviously was a no-no. So I'm teaching more somatically and using your own body, which requires more rolling around on the mat and having a lot less linear practice. And that's the other thing. I think that yoga in many modalities is becoming a little less linear and more multidimensional. So, you know, this kind of getting off the linear practice of just being on that mat and moving off it and moving into the space of what could otherwise be your neighbour is much more attractive. And that's just been a slow growth as well, which I think has been hurled forth a little more as well. Yeah, and various trainings and modalities that are certainly a lot less linear than more traditional vinyasa practices of the past. I think that's changing a little, and it's certainly, it's
changing a lot for a lot of people with different influences, which I'll ask you about in a minute. So can maybe we'll talk a little bit about how you might see the future too, but tell me what's your background of your, because you've been open at Flow Hot since 2011. What was your first influence to the yoga world?
Gordon Bennett. 10 years here. And I went probably about 15 years ago, something like that, to LA and did Vikram's training. So that was my first, and that was 9 weeks. LA, you know, when you it was one of the last trainings in LA actually. They were pretty damn staunch, let me tell you. And then the opposite end of the continuum came back, and I had built a studio from an old brothel upstairs, our pub in Pomeroy. So it went from one hot environment to another hot environment. It was pretty funny. And so that I was the landlord, not the owner. But of course, so that's where I kind of found my teaching feet, but then grew very quickly to, and I've also had a very broken body. I'd broken most bones in my body in a car accident in my early 20s. So I then became a student of Donna Fahy's, and then just a student, full stop. I've studied thousands of hours of, and, you know, we learn from contrast. And for me, there has been a lot of trainings that, you know, perhaps I wouldn't advise people on necessarily, but I learned lots, what I really, you know, perhaps worked better. I've done various other trainings, somatics as well, NLP. So I kind of you know, left school quite young and then made up for it in my later years, I suppose.
Yes. What happened with your car injury? How? Because I did read a little bit that it's quite serious. What was?
Yeah, I had a massive car accident when I was, or just before I was 21. So there was a lot of long-lasting, well, actually not so much long-lasting. I pretty much broke the left-hand side of my body. Big 7-ton truck went through a red light, took me out, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And that stayed with me for a long time because of... after I'd come out of a full-length plaster, my left leg, the tibia and the fibula had jumped out and it had healed an inch shorter. Wow. And all of those years ago, they asked me if I wanted to have it reset. And of course, this wild, woolly 21-year-old didn't want to go back into hospital. So I had a leg an inch shorter for something like about 25 years, which then caused a whole lot of other problems, as you can imagine. It's just probably where the Vikram thing came in, because the mirrors, I had no idea where centre was. Okay. And then, of course, there was a lot of compacting in my lower back and hips and all sorts of things from being off centre. Yeah, so that was kind of my journey in, because I started to live in a pain body for a long time. Yes. And then, you know, I became a bit addicted to alcohol and drugs, and the combination of the two were pretty good. Yes. And yeah, so finding my way to the mat, that was Vikram, and that was 15 years ago. Yeah.
And Vikram wasn't too tough for you as a coming in with a broken body and...
No, well, the thing is, it was very linear and it was very static. Yes. So...
it suited you well.
Yeah, and it was probably a bit more than that from when I first started practicing it, but that was here in Christchurch, and it was just a little studio that was sort of heated with an enormous big heater and an electric jug on boil to create some steam. It was hilarious. Yes. And I loved it, and that was when I sort of said, look, why don't we create something better? And there was a brothel above our pub, and we bought the brothel, put it in a studio, and yeah, kind of the rest is history. So the next studio will be my third go at a build, really. Yes. Greta and Jess, who were involved in this build. So we were the sort of original owners of Flow. Yes. Tanya is now, Jess had her children, and so she left here. Yeah, so that's kind of in short, really.
Yes, yeah. And your plans, they're still going ahead? You're just gonna...
Absolutely, we're very co-lab people. Yes. So there's various teachers and therapists that are involved in the Wellbeing Centre that are invested as well. I mean, yes. We've been here 10 years investing quite handsomely into somebody else's real estate. So it's an awesome spot within the 4 Avs. It's, you know, there was a whole suburb that fell down in the earthquake, in fact including what was around, which is where it's being built. Yeah. So it's a beautiful, beautiful spot, with parkways in front of it, inside the 4 avenues. Yeah. And one of the few historic buildings, which is Pomeroy, is next to it. Yes. And the design is very it's been well considered for the future, and also a nod to the past, if you like, and the design of the roof lines of what was there. And yeah, so it's taken, I mean, I think I've probably been really in planning for the Wellbeing Centre for at least 10 years, I would think. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it is because we went there, we went to Pomeroy's as well, and it's fabulous. Yeah. So have you started any of the build yet? Are you doing the groundwork?
Yeah, well, last week under a double what's it called? Rainbow, what's it called? The first tradesman went on to start organising, you know, power and things like that. So I think next Monday, you know, and various sub-trades. So everything's being worked through as we speak.
Fantastic. Yeah. And when do you hope to have that up and running?
I imagine it will be 12 months, more or less, you know, depending on what happens in the world. You know, Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
the land, the world, earthquakes. Who knows? Earthquakes, pandemics. You never know what shows up in front of you, do you?
You never know. And so it's the show must go on. You keep going,
That's right.
and we accommodate ourselves around the things that get thrown at us. Because COVID could come back. I know that we're
exactly. Yeah.
And there's so many still unknowns around that as well. So
yeah, and we had considered, we got the wobbles. I got the wobbles, because there's a hell of a lot on the line as well, I guess.
Yes.
But and we thought maybe because it's 2 buildings with a lovely area of trees in the middle.
Yes.
And we thought perhaps maybe we would just go with 2 studios, because there's 4 studios in total, 6 therapy rooms and a beauty clinic. But another month down the track, we thought, no point in sitting on your hands. Another 12 months, people are looking around. People want to be in community. Wellbeing is important. So let's do it. Let's go for it.
Even more important in today's world, really, that people.
That's how we felt. That's how we all felt. In a collective way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been massive in terms of the so much agitation in the world, and to be able to come in and do some movement, do some breath work, a little bit of peace for a short while is just so important.
And also too, really for us, it's about blending communities.
Yes.
Having the space, because here at Flow we've had a lot of guest teachers and so on, but in this sort of environment, we've got the ability to be able to have so many more guest teachers, with having 4 studios, being able to move it around, along with having a timetable that's a drop-in model, which of course we are. That makes it a little bit difficult, but having more studios. So we're seeing it very much as a education centre, school, yoga school. Fantastic. And wellbeing centre, yeah,
it's going to be amazing. Look forward to seeing how it all ends up. What's the situation also in Christchurch with other studios or other yoga teachers during the pandemic? Because we're still really in it, although we're not really affected like in the same way the rest of the world. How's Christchurch?
Well, my focus really has been more here, although I'm going to see Vincent Pilates in a couple of weeks at Move Well. Yes. We've hosted him in the past, and we'll continue to do work together. Yes. So there's a workshop going on there. So I hope and pray that it's good for everyone, because we all get to kind of move around and be in one another's, community and spaces. Yes. So I hope okay. I can't really speak to that.
You don't know how the other studios are bearing up with this? Studios down at all? Because a lot of people, it's like it's hand and mouth, and having, a couple of weeks off or 2 months not receiving an income.
Yeah, and it is too. But we've all kind of done that as teachers. I know that Tanya and I, we're not paying ourselves for teaching. Yes. But I remember with the girls, when we started, we did a load more teaching than what Tanya and I are doing now. And, we start on a small remuneration, you work hard. And I see this as, it's like yin and yang. That's just the constant flow, isn't it? Businesses will go through tough times. Yes. It's just a matter of, deciding that you want to stay with it, and that you're offering a product that people want to stay with you. That's all about service. That's all about the product.
Yes.
And it doesn't go away. In community, people want to be in tribe. People want to be in a community. And if you can offer that genuinely and be willing to tough out the tough times,
Tough times happen. Not just in the outside world, but in the inside world too. And that we keep getting challenged in different ways. So it's still really exciting times for you ahead in terms of all your plans. They look really fantastic.
Yeah,
how many classes are you teaching a week at the moment?
Oh, this week I think I've only got 3. We sort of do 3 to 5. But I find for myself that doing more than that, I just get too exhausted.
Yes.
Just to, and especially with a lot of study, and depending on what you're teaching, everybody's different, your age. We really encourage our teachers here to teach what is your true passion.
Yes.
So it doesn't become mechanical, the same thing over and over again, with enough change but enough similarity.
Yes.
So that certainly requires a dedication of continual study, and creating classes and so forth.
Yes.
And with I have my grandsons a couple of days a week, this, that, and the next thing. There's a lot with the Wellbeing Centre and therapeutics. Life is certainly busy. Nice. So for me right now, 3 to 5, I'm happy to tick along on 3 actually.
Yes, well, you've got.
It just depends on what it is.
Yeah, you've got a lot on your plate. You're doing lots of stuff, so that's fair enough. And you've got a good base of teachers as well. I'm going to be having a chat with Jay Brown Thursday morning. So I'm really curious to know how things are in America, in New York as well.
Big love to Jay. He's wonderful. Yeah.
So it's a different ball game, really, I think, around the world. So I'm curious to know how people are going to come through this and survive. And just wondering how much of this online work that's going to be just part of the whole yoga world now, because there's my teaching, my outreach has increased. I have people coming to my classes from the UK and from Switzerland and Mexico. So there's something fantastic about that, doesn't mean I don't have to travel, which is kind of cool, but I do like to be with people and have that interaction as well. Tell me, who's your inspirations at the moment?
Donna is always my inspiration, for sure. And Philip Shepherd, he was over here pre-lockdown. I only just got to have a weekend with him. I loved his work. Philip Shepherd was somebody through COVID that I could pick up his book, or I get a few feeds from him that there'd be something that he'd say that felt absolutely on point. So Philip Shepherd definitely over that lockdown. And Donna always, as far as her work, I love and admire her greatly. Yes.
And have you done some BMC work?
Yes, with Bonnie Bainbridge Conan. I studied with her a few years ago. It was a week or so. But I would really, in fact, you and I talked about that, and still would like to do that. But I think I might have had a sense that there was something going to be bigger than all of us this year, and made a decision not to travel. But when the Wellbeing Centre's up, and rather than taking a slow boat to China, I think a trip to Melbourne or wherever, perhaps she or those that work for her, I would love to immerse myself deeply into that work. Love to. I'm doing her online training at the moment, her Zoom classes, and it's lovely to connect with her. I had some great connection with her last year. Beginning. I can't remember. Last year it was. It's a nice connection with her. So that's extraordinary work.
And because we spoke about that right at the beginning, the kind of more somatic work, the non-linear stuff, which is really BMC, isn't it? That inner exploration. And,
totally.
Which is where you and I have lots of similarities of curiosity.
And that's what it's all about. And I think also, if you have for me, because I've had a lot of physical challenges to really, and my body has done what bodies do so geniusly, they contract to protect, and well after they need to be protected, there's still that contraction and that continual focus of what it takes to release and create space. And being in that nervous system of fight and flight, which can happen so easily, and obviously together that's contraction physically and emotionally, and ways of being out of that, and that work is what it's all about. And having a sense of that movement takes care of it all, speaks to mind and body, creates space, and that's where all of the possibilities are, really, in that spaciousness away from contraction. That's a big job. That's practice.
Yes, that's practice.
Big practice. It's been big practice for me.
It's an ongoing exploration that and I think both you and I are the same. We're still we're lifetime students, and we keep being excited by other people's knowledges and wisdom.
Absolutely. I love Vincent Pilates' work too. Absolutely love Vincent's work. I think it's so elegant, and I think also with the time that he's been away, maybe also the extra influence of with Tai Chi and those sorts of protocols. His background is so colourful. In his studies, I think, but the work that he's doing, I think, is genius. Fantastic. I love it.
No, he was, you probably know, he was one of my teachers as well. I'm going to hook up with him as well. He doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to give him.
Fantastic.
Particularly because of his he must be challenged by his the way with his association with China, and how that is going to impact upon his work as well.
Well, he's got very, very good at his offerings online. In fact, he's giving me a day at the end of the month. I'm going to do some film work with him so we can have it in our library, because I think to have Vincent's moving protocols available for as many people to learn or to enjoy, the better.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Awesome. That's nice to hear. When we didn't speak about it before we went on to record, but I do ask people that come on these Zoom talks with me if they could offer a few minutes of meditation or some breath work. Are you feeling up for that now? If you've got something that you could, I'm really sorry to just jump it on you. You can say no. I can cut it out too if you want.
Again, it's a continual practice, and whatever the breathwork protocol or the breathwork practice that we're doing at any particular time, the breath is everything, and the ability to slow the breath, slow the mind. It's the quickest way that we get to change state than any other, is it not? So really to just simply be wherever, sitting watching this in a queue, sitting in the car at the lights, that awareness of the sensation of our breath in our body, and how far reaching that is. And there's so many words for that, but I think quite simply observing our breath and the sensation of our breath in the body, how far reaching, what it leaves behind, what's there, where our mind travels to, because our minds are so genius. They tend to travel and settle into the places where there is discomfort, perhaps disease on the long term. And they are the places that we need to pay special attention to, rather than that sweeping under the body's carpet, if you like. And we've got pretty good at that, being very stoic, if you like, and not noticing. So breathe slowly and simply notice the quality of our thoughts. Notice the quality of the sensations in our body. As Richard Miller would say, our body's messengers. All of the sensations, they're all messengers. Listen to them.
It comes back to that really simple thing of just being more present, or working towards being more present. And even you talk to yoga teachers that have been in the yoga world for years and years, and have gone through doing Iyengar and quite vigorous yoga, and they're all, lots of them are just coming back to a real simplicity, which I think, just rightly, just like you said, also it's probably even more important in today's world now, that simplicity.
Absolutely. And I think that that was a gift of COVID.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What is it that we really need? What is it that we've got? Yeah.
So do you think we're going to come out as a world wiser from COVID?
Already happening.
Sorry.
Already happening.
Yeah. Yeah. There is wisdom going around. People are talking. People are wanting something better. It's going to be really interesting to see. Amazing time in the world, really. Fantastic opportunity for us to reset ourselves, not just for you and me and other people doing their own internal work, but for the world to look at resetting. It's an opportunity. I just hope we take the opportunity well.
Yeah, and to continue to remind ourselves. Sometimes our memories are a little short.
Yes. Yes, that's a bit age.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes and no. I think with, yeah. But there's always going to be pandemics. There's always going to be earthquakes. There's always going to be all sorts of things.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it's having this different coping mechanisms. And it is awesome that there's so many yoga teachers out there, so many yoga studios that are offering a wide array of different ways of accessing kindness in ourselves, maybe gentleness in ourselves. I've been working a lot with kindness. So instead of moving your body with a sensation, but moving it with an emotion, and so exploring choices as well has been
perfect. Yeah.
Work too.
Well, thoughts are biology, aren't they? So whatever you think is what you'll be producing by way of chemicals and hormones in your body.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Energy follows thought.
Mm.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza is another hero of mine as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So it's been lovely catching up with you, and I do appreciate you spending a bit of time just letting us know what's going on and in Christchurch. And for you, I might see if I can talk to some other people in Christchurch as well. Just curious to know what's going on in other yoga studios and in the world as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
And hey, good luck with your projects, your purpose-built studios and your education centre, really.
Look forward to having you down here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to coming down too. As you know, one of my main things is I teach body work, and I haven't been able to do that for some time now. And so I'm eager to get back into that world too, but also in this world as well. So if I can't go out, I'll bring people into my own living room, which is very cool, and connect.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you too, and best of luck. And what I'll do is I'll stop recording and we can have a little chat afterwards as well. But Victoria, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.